Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Purpose Tune podcast. My name is Kong Shong, and I'm the host of this show. The goal of the show is to broaden your knowledge, get you in the right mindset, and inspire you to take action to drive extraordinary performance, lead with meaningful impact, and align success with purpose and fulfillment. I'm really excited about today's guest. His name is Craig Levinson. Craig is an entrepreneur, brand strategist, and founder of CL Talent, a digital media company specializing in creator growth, social media monetization, and brand partnerships for athletes, celebrities, and public figures. He's also the co-founder of Love Attraction, a luxury streetwear that helps people inspire to take action to achieve their goals and desires. The brand that's built around craftsmanship, faith, and intentional living. With over a decade of experience in digital media and branding, Craig is passionate about building influential brands that create lasting impact both online and beyond. Craig, let's check in. How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome, man. I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Awesome. I've been following you for a couple years. Of course, as you know, we met in San Diego, and you've always had this vibe about you that's like cool and collected and grounded. And that really inspires me because there's not many people that are like that. I mean, people are usually on the go. They've got a ton of stuff on their minds, and but you've always been like you just like stood out. And so I thought that was really inspiring. But it took us a couple years before we actually really like connected and now doing this podcast episode. But I guess in a sort that's kind of like manifestation, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. It's crazy because I have just a lot going on in my life, but I think I prioritize staying grounded and um, just how I, have been as a person since I was a kid, and my demeanor hasn't really changed as an adult. Where I've always kind of just done things my way and had a sense of like patience and allowing things to happen as they will to a degree, but also putting the work in to accomplish things that you want. So it's like a balance between the two.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. Now, tell us more about your work. Like, how did you get started in the space of building brands and media, and then to your clothing brand as well too? Like how, like what's your backstory? Like, walk us through what you were like as a kid, teenage, high school, college, whatever, and then till now.
Yeah, so childhood started in South Africa, where I was born, and spent my childhood with my family, immediate family, parents, brothers, and a lot of my extended family lived there. So um, aunt, uncle, grandparents, like that was, I guess, the start of my life and journey. And from there, migrated with my family to New Zealand. Or I guess asking a little bit about childhood as a kid. I think I mentioned to you, I was always a very like relaxed child. Like I used to fall asleep getting a haircut at the hairdresser, and they used to have to like carry me out of the hairdresser. Some kids used to freak out about getting a haircut. I was, calm and collective, and literally fell asleep like getting a haircut, and used to be carried out to my mom's car when we were done. And that, demeanor and like personnel and energy was just like just who I was. And it's interesting, my mom's kept a diary on all her children, and from birth until 19 is when I moved to the States, and I have that diary here, and I've read through it and understood myself as a child, which I think is a valuable way of seeing who I am now, and if those personality traits align with that authentic self, that who I was without social conditioning, and that analytical mind that starts to develop at like 7 to 12 years old, that is able to come into play and look at things from a different perspective. So that's been a powerful like understanding, and that's how I guess I know even more about myself as a child from my mom's perspective. But South Africa, moved to New Zealand at about 9 years old. family wanted to raise us in a more safe environment. From Johannesburg, South Africa, which is a pretty dangerous city and not the greatest place post apartheid to raise children and a family and stuff. So, family decided to start from scratch and move us to a safe environment. We got denied entry into the US, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand was one of the few places that accepted us as immigrants. And now New Zealand's very hard to get into as an immigrant, but back then it was easier, and yeah, accepted us and as immigrants. Um, so I carried my life into New Zealand with a family, way safer environment. We were able to explore, life more, I guess, myself as a child and enjoy outdoors and doing things that a kid's, kind of supposed to do as opposed to being more isolated and protected in South Africa. That, learned more once I'd left how, just how the environment was growing up. Um, and got into sports at a very young age. Have always been a good athlete. Have a natural gift as an athlete of just being athletic, and started pursuing basketball fairly seriously at about 13 years old, and I already had this genetic gift. And about, what was I, 14 years old when I was, grabbing the rim and close to dunking a basketball. And about that age, I started dunking a volleyball, went from a tennis ball to a volleyball to then dunking a full basketball at like 14
Wow.
years old, which was just a genetic gift of having this explosive ability that was, innately something that I had. And then, started pursuing basketball further through high school and really took a passion and interest in it. And at 19, that's essentially what landed me in the States. I was very inspired by a lot of television and culture that showcased this lifestyle of being a collegiate athlete and
Yeah.
just this American dream that I think a lot of immigrants, look at the opportunity and freedom that, the US is such a large place that there's so much to explore within it. And New Zealand, small town, 4 million people, 4.5 million in the whole country.
Yeah.
I was very inspired to utilize this catalyst as an outlet to explore opportunity and to open doors, because I knew just getting there, I could figure out the rest and problem solve. And I didn't have expectation that came with it. It was like, I'll just get there and that's part of the dream. And from there, I can, um, take life as it comes. So it's this unknown that I love exploring through life is, it's funny because I'm structured to a degree, or I like plan and organization, but I'm not type A or type B. I'm kind of fall in the middle where I use structure as a guideline for my life, but I also like spontaneity and freedom to say like, okay, cool. I
Yeah.
can get up tomorrow and take a flight to Europe and go spend 2 weeks there and explore new territory or new opportunities and new things. And that's what is expanding the mind and consciousness and awareness.
Yeah. That's amazing. Speaking of consciousness and awareness, did you always have that growing up, or did somebody change your life along the way? Like, how did you get into this space?
I think I've always had it innately in me because
Mhm.
at like 11, 12, I started becoming aware of like food and importance of like healthy eating. And
Yeah.
at 12 years old, I started drinking green tea. And not because my parents influenced me, it was actually the opposite. I started influencing them at a young age, 12, 13, to start removing like, you know, cold drinks like sodas and stuff off the table and just drink water at dinner time. And there you go, 333. I love it.
Isn't it funny how we're talking about consciousness and boom, there you go, 333. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, no, I love that. But yeah, at that young age, I was started influencing my parents to just make healthy, decisions around food, and started educating them on. I don't know, where the education came from. I think it was just conscious awareness and understanding that I had a young age of being an old soul and aware that food is an important part of processing your reality and how you make decisions and
Right.
your conscious mind, that then expanded into other areas. But food has always been my passion, like, oh, health, I guess you could say, health and wellness.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that was one of the eras that we met was that era one too, right? It's like, how do you get people to be more consciously aware of the things they consume in their bodies and also their mindset and spirituality as well, right? Because I feel like there's so like especially here in America, and I've never really traveled outside of America other than like Venezuela, but in America specifically, like it's a capitalistic society, right? Like it's all about making money. And so the food industry has um, done us people as a disservice by injecting all of these bad ingredients into our food and making it cheap for us to consume so they can profit. And when I hear about the mission of, let's say, Air One trying to, raise the collective consciousness of people to be mindful of things they consume, the clean ingredients, it really makes me feel like there's some humanity left in this world, right? That we're not just all about making money. I mean, I want to see us in a society where we can pay for, you know, an item at the grocery and consume it without having to pay a lot of money for it, right? It just becomes like, you know, something that most people can afford. And so I think that it's really cool that you've decided to like, not only work through, you know, your own work in terms of like being more consciousness of the things you conduct through your work, but also the things you consume in your body, right? And so walk us through this media agency. Like, how did you get started in this? I mean, you went from a sports player to like a media agency to now owning a clothing brand. Like, what how help us like connect the dots there? Like, you could have pursued anything. Why these two categories?
Um, I mean, prior to the marketing agency, I formed a organic supplement line and was building out, a lifestyle brand that was centered around organic supplements, and I wanted to bring clean, conscious ingredients and a brand to the world that had true purpose and was trying to put good, clean things in people's hands to consume and educate them on a lot of the ideologies that I developed and thoughts I developed from just a couple of decades of experience being in and watching the industry. Um, and as that was the first startup I ran, and as that was coming to an end for various reasons, I had got in touch with or got personally connected to in I guess you could say the right timing or divine timing, I call it, with an inspirational athlete who has a very compelling story. And I took it upon myself to connect with him and essentially help build out his presence and impact and do a lot of philanthropy work, but also like build his story and really get the world conscious and aware of like who he was. So his name's Zion Clark, and I moved him in with me and kind of mentored him as well as built out the business element of who he was and the philanthropy impact work. And we inspired millions of people through his story and through connecting with people. So I met him when he was 19, 20, his second time ever in LA, and we
Mhm.
met through my friend who was backstage on the Ellen DeGeneres show while Zion was there at the same time, and met him that day after seeing him on social media a week before. So it was just interesting, the timing of things. And then took it upon myself to help to essentially build out all elements of his growth and brand and who he was while sharing that story. So that was kind of the entry point into me building a marketing agency and starting to work with more and more people in the space.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the entry point. That was how things kind of grew and progressed, and created something out of it. But so yeah, that's the initial entry point. And then just I've always liked aesthetics and branding and like an eye for, marketing and branding. Good, it's very broad and essentially it could be anything. So when it comes to like me building out the clothing brand and law of attraction, it's the same. Fashion is an aesthetic and the enjoyment of seeing something visual that's pleasing, but then again, it has a lot of deep meaning and messaging behind what we're building. So it coincides. I create things through purpose. I don't just
Right.
create things. I've never had the mental, notion of chasing dollar signs or don't chase anything in life. That's my mentality is, our tagline for the clothing is attraction is effortless. Don't force or chase things. We live in a very hustle culture that, forces things. And yeah, I mean, you have to be very diligent and vigilant with going after what you want in life, but don't chase it. If anything's running from you, let it run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. What is meant to be will be, right? They will
Hmm.
way back, whether that's an idea, a business, or person, or relationship, or business partner, or whatnot. That's amazing, man. So you mentioned about purpose. What's your purpose and why do you do what you do?
My purpose is to inspire action in people through how I live my life, to have some form of positive influence on people. I'm not an extremely vocal person, but I do it through my action and how I live. So I like to showcase how I live my life, which is authentic and true to who I am, and use that as inspiration and motivation to, show people that I guess as an unconventional path I've taken, moved here as an immigrant from New Zealand with, maybe $2,500 to my name on a student visa, and been able to build something over the last 16 years of being here. Um, and that is, I want to use that as a catalyst to inspire youth and the younger generations that, I mean, it's taken a lot of hard work to build something that I'm very proud of and work with people that I was inspired by growing up. A lot of A-list celebrities and people that have a lot of notoriety. Uh, and you often have to like self-reflect and realize like, give yourself flowers because often we go through things and then like we manifest these things and put the work in and next minute they're here and then you kind of go on to that next goal of accomplishing the next thing, but you just have to make sure like you appreciate the moment of accomplishment and achievement. So
Right.
you know but yeah, that's how I view, purpose is finding your gifts and giving them to the world.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. That's a part of it says, leveraging your gifts and talents, which is coming from, God, the universe, the divinity, whatever you call it, God, and then, making an impact by sharing it with the world. Right? So it's combining both the element of who you are and leveraging your gifts and talents and helping others. Um, what would you say to someone who's just starting out? You know, what are like the first 2 to 3 moves that they can do to grow their powerful personal brand or business?
Number one is authenticity. Don't tell people what they want to hear. Come from a place of authenticity because we live in a world that there's so much stimulation and noise, and you can't replace authenticity behind things. I show up the same for if I'm doing your podcast, if I'm talking to a child, if I'm talking to a royal family. I treat people the same and at the same level of respect, but I come across as myself, and I pride myself on that. So, in a noise of, in a society of that's very performative now,
Yes.
just be yourself and don't second guess that. There's no right or wrong when you're authentic. So, that's, something, consistency is very, very important because things in life compound, and what you can accomplish in a year's time, I think we often undermine, but we think we can accomplish way more in a short amount of time, like say a week or a month. I focus more what you can accomplish in a year's time. Like take baby steps, but also like realize you can do a lot more in a year, especially if you're consistent with those small baby steps because of that compound effect of how life works.
Yeah,
Um, and then realize what your true value is to give to the world. Like you're going to build a personal brand, what influences people to follow you and share your content and engage with it, because there has to be some form of value exchange or value add. Like don't look at prov- figure out what your value is to provide before you think of monetizing it or monetary value that comes from it. Give away some form of knowledge for free before you think of the monetary value behind it.
yeah, yeah. One thing that has always stood out to me about you is just your authenticity. It's so strong, and it's like, and you're right, like how you interact with, Zion, or any of the celebrities you've worked with, to a person down the street is the same. It's consistent. And in my space in leadership coaching, I teach leaders how to develop trust within their teams, and authenticity is one of the key components of that, building trust. And I think we live in a culture where there's such a low trust environment, and people are desperate looking for connection, and they can't get it because they don't know how to show up authentically.
Hmm.
I think that when you yourself role model it to other people, they're like, oh, well, that's kind of new. Like, I didn't know that I could be myself.
Yeah, yeah,
And
exactly.
now that, mhm,
Yeah, you give somebody, it inspires people to like, you know, be okay to be themselves. So like realize that I can be myself, like I don't have to. So, as I continue to reach personal goals and accomplishments, like I don't want to change the tone or narrative ever of how
right.
I come across and who I am.
Yeah.
I have personal goals and aspirations that I continue to climb and achieve. But again, it doesn't change that mentality of how I treat people, no matter what accolades I have. I'm never going to look down upon another human or think I'm better than. Within reason, self-respect is also very important to me. So
Yeah.
it's a balance. It's respect is given and received. So I, do, you know, I don't do things that diminish my own self-respect for myself because
Right.
that's most important to me is making sure like respecting yourself is also loving yourself, and that's
Oh, yeah.
like
Yeah.
realizing you are knowing your self-worth. So
Now, where did you learn that from? Was it through your parents? Did you have friends growing up that were like that, or was it just something you just like thought of? I mean, there has
well
been
I think
some role model or someone that motto with.
my value system was conditioned through good parenting and through a very loving mom and parents, especially my mom that opened that door of like mother son loving unconditional relationship that taught me the value system of the building blocks that I use to form my own reality and basis on a how the world works and like the importance of value system. But then is so that's the nurturing side of it, and then there's the other side of like me experiencing life and then going through experiences that might condition or change certain things, but it's that strong foundation I think that carries that um, thought process, and then just my discipline and leadership mentality and things that I've developed through consistency and hard work and problem solving and all these things that life taught me through paving my own path, and I guess
Yeah. Yeah, that's very important. especially around parenting. I'm also very privileged to have great parents that taught me good values and, how to behave around others. And so, it's important to always be surrounded by people who can continue to affirm those values that you hold still, because especially here in LA and Hollywood, people can be easily swayed by doing things that they're not comfortable with, but they're doing it because they want to fit in, or that's what is cool, right? And so I think our our most powerful move is where we are authentically aligned with who we are, no matter what. No one person, no company, no whatever can change who we are and how we think about the world. And so when you're in your own power, that's 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 influential, that's impact, because you're role modeling to other people that it's okay to be who you are. And at the end of it, it's really about, I think it's really about peace. Like, am I happy being who I am, no matter what the world tells me otherwise, no matter what Hollywood tells me otherwise, right?
For
Because
sure.
we're all chasing something to be, you know, important. But what's really important is, how do we feel about ourselves? How do we see ourselves in,
Yeah.
in all of this, all of the chaos and all of the expectations of society and even our friends and our family members?
So you can't put a price on peace of mind.
Right.
Like at the end of the day, for the most part, I sleep very well at night. And
Yeah.
that, generally speaking, because I'm at peace with myself, like I do take on too much sometimes, and like I'm building businesses, I'm running businesses, I'm connecting, make sure make time for my family, make sure I make time, yeah, the more I connect and more build a great network, it's the more communication I'm having, the more my brain is overstimulated a lot of the time, and that's just reality of it. But I find a way to balance it. Like the demeanor I come across is who I am. Like I have a more peaceful, chill like personality because that's just who I am. Um,
Right.
but don't get it wrong, a competitive athlete that knows how to unleash, internal beast within myself at the right time and moment, but I don't carry that like sporadic or overstimulated energy through how I communicate and speak to people. And yeah, I guess I am definitely a more peaceful person, or like, I'm non-confrontational unless I have to be.
In basketball, I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the competitive nature in you. Okay, so we're gonna switch gear a little bit. So talk to us about mindset and identity. I mean, obviously you have this brand about law of attraction, right? And it's actually, the name of it is law of attraction, but how important is it in your perspective of mindset and identity in how it shapes our success and building businesses or brand?
I mean, it's everything. Your mind is your most powerful tool, and
Mhm.
it shapes your perspective on life. It shapes your reality. It shapes how you see the world. So a thought stems from your mind, right? And that's
Right.
thought now is turned into your reality. So what you feed yourself goes into play of, if you have an optimistic outlook on life, or if you have a pessimistic outlook on life, or if you a very positive, uplifting person, or more negative person that focuses on the negative, because those are the things that you attract into your existence and realm. So for me, what I feed myself, from a thought standpoint of the books I read and the content that I allow myself to watch and see, to the people I surround myself with, that's extremely important to me, because I think that's essentially the foundation of what you want in life, and what you attract into your existence and allow into your existence. So it goes back, to self-respect too, because
Yeah.
you are a product of who you surround yourself with. It's a
Mhm.
very true statement. Who you spend time with is who you evolve into, to a degree, or those thoughts. Like for me, I don't I know some people love scary movies, but I'm like, never really liked. I'm like, why would I instill more fear into myself? I get there's this emotional rush and adrenaline rush of watching like I don't know. For me, I don't like. I like to just as much as I can. We're desired and we're designed and wired to look for fear and to um, innately, be aware of a fear, but also predators, right, or things that can harm us. So like that's why our adrenal spikes and like you go into this fight or flight. But unfortunately, society's gone into a very chronic state of fight or flight and sympathetic function as opposed to being in a more calm sympathetic state. So um it all goes back to what you feed yourself, and those thoughts and ideologies are conditioned into your reality. So the power of thought leads to the power of manifestation. You constantly reinforce something to your brain and you're going to believe it. Your
Right,
brain doesn't know the difference between that thought versus the reality that you're living in. So I start my day with a positive, with breath work, with red light therapy, with detaching from our phone, ideally try to read some pages of a book, and then start my day and take on the world and all the chaos that can potentially come with that. But I think no matter what you're doing, the power of thought and what you feed your mind is the foundation of any form of success.
right. Yeah, that's so important. I think to your point, who we are is basically the environment, the books we read, the podcasts we listen to, the people we surround ourselves with. And we should always be cognizant of our surroundings and how we take information. Like the other day, I was just driving on the street and I saw this billboard of this woman, and she gave this face of fearful face. I'm like, why would I look at that billboard? Because that just injected fear into my subconscious
Negative,
mind.
yeah.
And the other thing too is that society, there's more people, and I want your take on this. There's more people that are vibrating at a lower frequency of fear, anger, and jealousy. Why is that? I think it's because uh, corporations benefit from our fear, and so they want us to tap into these low frequency, so that they can actually profit from it. So, for example, a car, right? Like you see a car commercial, they're really tapping into the scarcity mindset, right? Like buy this car because it's the next coolest thing for you. It's got leather seats, it's got these rims, and if you don't have it, then you're not going to be as cool as the Jones, right? And so,
Yeah, of course. I mean, you control people through fear.
right,
So, any form of fear response that you make feel people feel like they don't have that, they're not enough, or they, in need. You look at abundance versus scarcity, like abundant state of mind. You don't come from any place of need, right? It's your
right,
own conscious decision if you want something, but you don't need create expectation of a needed outcome. That's why like situationally people are so wired with the need of someone to text them back, or the need of something to go some way in their life to happen to be happy. And it's a very um, it's a very dangerous place to allow yourself to operate from your operating system from, because now all your thoughts are centered around this scarce and furious state of mind. I love creating more and more opportunities and things in my life because I'm not attached to the outcome. If that doesn't happen, that's fine. I have 50 other seeds planted of opportunity and things that can flourish. So,
right,
and it's not easy to get to this point by any means, because I've had to train myself and teach myself, stop comparing yourself to people, stop worrying about the person next to you. And like, with my successes, I really limit how I compare my own path and version of myself, and it's me versus me, and it's leveling up who I am and continue to learn and flourish through my own successes and bring others up with me, but not compare myself to their journey in life.
right. Yeah, I think it's so important to not compare ourselves to other people because we don't know what their personal journey is like, right? Like maybe there's somebody that aren't at peace with themselves, and so they're trying to run away from something or chase after something to replace their peace. Whereas someone like you who has peace and alignment, it's like that is the richness of life. I mean, there are 50, 60-year-olds that I'm coaching them as my client, and they haven't yet found peace in their internal world. And there's
Yeah.
you who's I don't know how old you are, in your 30s maybe, that's
Yeah.
already like accomplished so much. And so I think it's just inspiring that that we have someone like yourself who's young, ambitious, but also in alignment with your values and have a good headspace. That can inspire, especially the younger generation, right? Like, hey, I'm the walking role model of this. You don't have to be 50, 60, 70-year-old to achieve peace and purpose because I've done it.
Yeah. To me, I never want to come across as impressing people. There's a fine line between impressing and inspiring.
Right.
And sometimes I've like questioned like how much I want to build my personal brand, because I don't ever want to come across as I'm trying to impress you through a lifestyle that I've been able to sustain and build. Um, when I started doing well with my agency, I started buying property, and I could have very much so bought a crazy car to impress people, but I silently invested and started buying properties throughout California, until one day a friend of mine was like, "Why do you drive this car? You really successful?" And I'm like, um, and I questioned it. I like nice things, but I don't put them on a pedestal. And
Right.
no, I ended up buying a nicer car after that. More for me, because I do nice things, but I can often live very minimalistic. And I don't need much to be happy, because I have an internal happiness and peace
Right.
that external validation is not. I don't need a nice car or a house or watch to make me. Yes, I like nice things, but they're
Yeah.
not going to change me. I'm not going to lead with them as a way to receive external validation. I know deeply, I have a confidence of who I truly am.
I really love that message because that can really, like what you just said, a lot of people, especially here in LA and Hollywood, could really use that message, right? Have you done something like this where you leverage your brand to um get this message out to people that it's okay to be who you are in
Yeah.
chaos? You don't need to have external validation in order to be complete inside. Um,
Well, like when I launched the supplement company, which was lifestyle brand oriented as well, the tagline was "Be real, be you," and
okay.
that embodied what we were trying to get across. And I think anything I've built um, is coming from an authentic place, and it
Right.
continues to align with the authenticity that I try to embody in my daily life, but also like how I come across. I want to use my social media as a platform to inspire people, but also show the struggles. And like I'm building a you know cl- luxury streetwear fashion brand. It's by no means all highs without lows, but I want to show that authenticity of like, when we order product in and the stitching is off, and now we have to deal with these things and nuance that I want to show to people as a show, as opposed to just a final product of this, beautiful garment. It's like, no, what is all the daily struggles or things that you deal with, and how you deal with them?
Right. Yeah, I love that. Um, I got just a few questions here. The next question I have here is, what does influence, the terminology influence really mean to you and or in today? Because there's so much noise, especially in a world where everyone wants to chase followers and be seen.
Yeah. Um, I mean, influence to me is impacting people in a positive manner. So, influence or being an influencer means you have some um, influence over or ability to impact thought and action in that person, but it's not often from a positive standpoint. It often comes across as comparison and might diminish self-esteem and confidence, right? But to me, influence is having a positive impact. So it's ensuring that influence makes people feel better about themselves
Mhm.
and inspires them in some form to take action.
Right.
So that's my perspective of real influence, right? Versus just thrown around with the word influence.
Right. Yeah, I love that. Again, going back to impact is really about making a difference in people's lives. And um, that's what we here at Purpose Tune Podcast try to do is create more impact in the world by getting people to tap into their purpose and have it as a daily, regular, casual conversation. It doesn't have to be something grand. And when people can actually get into this headspace of purpose and fulfillment, they're more likely to achieve the kinds of success that we're aiming that they hope they do, because that's where the fulfillment piece of it lies, right? It's like when people are more purposeful, they not only live longer, but they also have a reason for living, which adds more value into their lives. And life, I believe life is short. We should maximize our potential.
100%.
And part of that means that we should, tap into our own purpose and find why we're here on earth, and which I think is really about, making a lasting impact in others. More
Hmm.
materialism, more than money, more than these external validations, which too often too many people are chasing. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. If someone listening to this episode wants to create more impact and more freedom, and also more income um, in the next year, what would you advise that they start focusing on today?
Um, I mean, lead with impact and value.
Mhm.
Don't necessarily focus on. Um, I mean, if you are an entrepreneur or want to go into entrepreneurial journey,
Mhm.
try align with your passions, but also be realistic of those things that you have an advantage of, or good at, or have a skill set for that you can build upon. Because my early years of entrepreneurial journey, I questioned myself a lot. I was like, what am I good at? I've never been hired. I've never had a resume. I've never had something that people tell me like you're being hired and interviewed for this position. But it made me question myself a lot in a positive way, right? I asked people I trusted around me, what do you think I'm good at? What are my skills? What are my weaknesses? And I used that to build upon those skill sets that are naturally, maybe, for me, as an example, people like, you're very personable, you're very likable, you're easy to trust. You just come across as, and I was like, okay, I wonder what the reason is. And maybe it's because that authenticity and how that comes across to people and how I vibrate, my tonality of my voice, never high, never low. I'm never like,
Yeah.
so I observed myself further and started to understand myself further and how I came across.
Mhm.
And once I understood those things, I leaned into them. So find out really truly who you are, and ask people around you that you really trust their opinion bluntly. Find those things, find your passions, and then go to work. Like, put a lot of time and effort into, it's not easy taking an unconventional path. Sometimes it's a lot easier taking a structured role where you're getting paid a check. And entrepreneurial journey is by no means easy and for everybody.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I would answer that.
Yeah. I think entrepreneurship is one of the, if not the greatest personal development journey that anyone could ever be on, because you learn so much about yourself through times of challenges. And
Yeah,
being a business owner, entrepreneur, it can be, it's not for everyone. You have to have thick skin and a strong mindset to get through those challenges, which again, when you're reminded of your purpose or your why, then that's greater than any how. And you can achieve anything as long as your why is strong enough. Kind of the
100%.
saying of like, put faith over fear, right? And
Yeah.
so I love that. Just two more questions here,
Yeah.
Craig. So what else would you like to share with the folks listening to this episode? And then where can they find you should they want to connect with you?
Um, I mean, what else to leave them with? I think we covered a lot through this, but um, Yeah, I feel like a lot of our conversation kind of covered my thoughts and ideologies and what's important to me. Like at the end of the day, I want to self-reflect on my life and know I did it my way, and know I had an impact on people, and know I took care of the people around me. And just not living with like regrets. And that's why I think just doing things your own way and how you want it is very important. So
Right.
I guess that's probably something to share and leave the audience with.
Yeah, love that. So tell us more about your brand, your clothing brand, and people wanted to take a look at your shop, your items, so where can they find you? And how can they connect with you if they want to talk to you about branding as well?
Yeah. So the clothing brand is loalosangeles.com or LOA Los Angeles on social media, law of attraction. And that shares more about, you can see the clothing. I'm actually wearing one of the items, which is, it says Godspeed. And
Nice.
we use,
Oh, God.
Renaissance to, which we tie into like the brand identity and things symbolic of what we're creating. So that's where you can see more about the brand and what we're building, which has a strong meaning and purpose. But then also we're creating really, cool clothing that is applicable to society and is, timeless fashion. Craig Levinson on social media, you can find me and, my journey and the things I'm doing for anyone that wants to follow along.
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. And just one last thing too is Craig, you certainly have worked with A-list celebrities. Who are some of those? Share with us.
Yeah, Mike Tyson, do quite a lot of work with his family. Anthony Edwards, Travis Barker, Diplo, Mayweather. Yeah, there's another number of people in the space that Amber Rose that I've essentially being able to build a relationship and connect with for
Yeah.
social media and marketing services. But yeah, um, yeah, definitely, met some great people.
Yeah, and to the folks that are saying, "Wow, that's so inspiring," and I'm inspired by your accomplishments. Thank you for sharing. How do they get into those circles? Is it the connections, relationships? Any pointers?
Um, I mean, having enough value to provide to people that allows you to provide some service to these people, and also building trust and being likable and like wanting to be, because naturally word of mouth and referral of service comes with doing something very well and then being likable that people want to offer you some opportunity or create that opportunity from.
Right. I love that. Well, folks, there you have it, man. Greg, the man here. If you're inspired by this episode, feel free to connect with him on his social media handles and reference where you heard him from, which is the Purpose Tune podcast. Craig, thank you again for your time. I appreciate it. And until then, folks, make sure to like and subscribe and write in the comment section what you think.